Any other question?
We have our Thomas with the hand up here. Perhaps you can go ahead.
Yes, hello. Thank you, Rick. Good morning, Mr. Keshe. This is Thomas from Switzerland. It's nice to have the possibility to talk to you again. Mr. Keshe, if I watch the situation all over the world for the moment, we have what I would call, like all the others do, we have on one side the population, the people all are nice and do work and go along with each other. On the other side, we have for a long time already what we in the near past have called the deep state. Now this deep state is sort of embedded everywhere, and what I would like to ask you is, I think that the problem, at least for me personally, is not material forthcoming or striving or a new financial system or whatever. But there is one thing on which this so-called deep state is thriving, and that is the trade of humans. The trade, especially of children, having sort of like factories producing children, and then we all know what they do with these children. If this comes to all the, how shall I say, the average people, that will be, if they know what has happened over the last centuries, this will be a shock. I don't know how this will be able to be absorbed. We have for the moment more slaves from this trade than we ever had on this whole world. It is millions of children, millions of women, and who are traded and bought and sold and mishandled, all for receiving a sort of a substance which apparently gives them, I don't know what it gives them, because I haven't seen anybody who finally lived for 200 years of these people. Okay, I don't know how they are able to sort of use this, but where is the way to be able to stop this? Because this is such a situation where everywhere is this terrible feeling of these misused souls. What can we as a whole community of knowledge seekers, or every individual, what can we do to make sure that we assist in some way that this can be stopped?
Maybe I can answer you one way or the other, or collectively. You see, one of the first things we will see in the coming time is that up to now, the sanctions has been on nations who have been advanced in technology, or they've been accused of terrorism. By bringing the new technology into force and what we see to come, very soon we will see enforcement of banning on the nations who by United Nations has been put as the key nations in child trafficking. The state of Belgium is on the top of the agenda of United Nations. Every flight out of Africa carries 3 to 5 children on a false name. We have drug traffickers, we call them donkeys, where they put cocaine and heroin in their body and they bring it. The embassies of this nation produces passports for children with a false mother and put them on planes or men and brings them into Europe. The fastest way. They have placed all sorts of things on this. But the first focus, once we achieve the position of understanding of technology, is banning, according to the United Nations list, nations who are in child trafficking. And Belgium is the heading this through the ports and airports. A hidden report was done with some securities about 10 years ago, which clearly states every flight into Brussels carries 3 to 5 donkey mothers. And these donkey mothers bringing the children, then spend given 6 months, 12 months visa to become prostitutes in Europe, and they go back wealthy. This we know. And once we stop this child trafficking, I don't understand why such a thing has been allowed and it's become the center of Europe. We have raised the question and very soon will be answered. All the members of the European Parliament has to be clarified if they have or they have a past of the pedophilia with them. This is very important. Why should the biggest nation involved in child trafficking be the center of the European countries? Every member of the European community has to answer. You boycott a nation for everything else, but not when you go and have your seat, and it's the biggest pedophile nation in the world. And this does not end with England, or what we call it Belgium. We have this in Dubai. In Emirates, you can go to a small city, a town, a village, and literally people, women and adults, children of whatever age, sitting on the pavement waiting to be bought. And you pay some $3,000 or whatever, and they give you their passport and they're yours for 1 year, 2 years. You literally go on the streets of Emirates shopping for humans. When it was explained to me when we lived in Dubai for 3 months, I felt ashamed to be human. Slavery, you're correct, has not changed. When I used to work with United Nations, I was explaining this to knowledge seekers a few days ago. But the biggest problem United Nations has is the child trafficking of girls from Kashmir. The way we grow cattle or we grow sheep and we sell one sheep every year to live for the life, there are mothers in Kashmir who give birth to children every year that the girls can be sold for the money income for the family for a year or two till the next child grows up. These are the facts we cannot ignore. We see when we used to work with the United Nations, there are still trailers of young boys who 3, 4, or 5 years, which are transferred and what we call taken across Africa through different channels for the pleasure of men in Saudis. Child trafficking does not stop in one place. Some of the girls who come from Kashmir are bought by the United Nations officers, and the same girls are taken back on the same road 5 minutes, an hour later by the same people that they paid for them. We are aware of this. The biggest work for, especially if you remember last week, I said we have a lot to do with Germany. Germany government is aware of this, and French and German government has to answer to the European community. Why do we have our center in a country which is a center of pedophilia recognized by United Nations? Are members of the European community inclined that way? That's why they strive to become, then they have access to free children. These are the things which has to be answered. Why Keshe Foundation used to be targeted by the pedophiles. We saw we put Alan Sterling away, and we still had Dirk worse than anybody else behind it. The pictures we have from Dirk from taking places where he knew children are buried are still with us. We never disclose it. One of the biggest pedophiles used to be with Keshe Foundation. We open this door very soon for you. We got rid of it. And everybody said, Mr. Keshe speaks about pedophiles. We didn't understand how come we absorbing these people, because the one with the longest pedophile history was sitting right on top of the Keshe Foundation. They were working through us. We didn't know. It wasn't we were hunting. They were directed. They're involved in it. And a scientific organization brings this kind of people. And we've seen it. But how can we stop it? How can we stop slavery? We see men working 10, 12 hours shift in Saudi Arabia and in Middle East and other places for meager food to help their families back home. And they have no free slavery. We see the same thing in part of India and the rest. I think one of the nations who have strived to fight child slavery is China. They do their best to bring it under control. That there's not much, or if it is, this government sits on top of it. This is not random. This is organized, and once we sort out the peace process with the upcoming time, and maybe in years, we have to handle the state of Belgium, as is recognized by United Nations. Then we most probably curtail 30–40% of the child trafficking in the world. It's like agencies, they work through it. And in past year, we have to come understand much more than I could not imagine how we've been, what we call, I can't find a word to say, infiltrated. We were not infiltrated. We had one of the top inside us, we didn't know. We found out recently. We keep our books very close because our, what we call, we put Alan Sterling away. With it, we've seen another one gone. And now we found out why we've been targeted, how we've been targeted, how they've been allowed in through the back door. We had a chance to do it. And when we release information, it's in black and white. We don't make accusation. And the biggest answer, Germany and France, to be part of the peace talk in 5+1, if Iran is considered a nation of advanced technology, why do they allow their member of parliament to go to a nation which is by United Nations marked as biggest pedophile nation on this planet? What's the reason? Our members of the European Parliament or people who work within the European Parliament are inclined that way, and this is a new way of sourcing it. Become a member of Parliament, European Parliament, and have access to free children. This has to be answered by our leaders. Or close the Brussels and move it to Strasbourg. Where is the home? French are staying more or less clean of these things, and then handle it. There's a lot to be answered. And you're not the only one. We keep very silent about this, but we keep a very close eye to it. I used to be involved in United Nations child trafficking, what we call slavery in Africa, and we get to know a lot of it. I used to work in Africa for years, and with our work, we were requested a few times by securities to keep an eye what is happening where we are and what we see, and we became part of monitoring system. And what I know is a tip of iceberg. I'm sure there is more to it. We've seen it at Epstein in the United States. What else? Where else? We have a huge problem in European countries, and especially in London and Paris. And that is, it's a big dilemma, because I used to work with British Customs and we discussed this, and I stood in lines watching it, we couldn't do much, is the Saudis who come to England with 4 wives. And sometimes 1 or 2 of these are in their teens and below, in teenage and below. Legal in Saudi Arabia by Islamic law to marry a 9-year-old. And they come, they have 10, 12, 15-year-old children, and this girl 9, 10 years old is a wife. And British customs, I've seen them scratching their head that what can they do? How do we pass this 9-year-old as a child? And I've seen them scratching their head. And what can they do? Is it pedophilia or is it accepted by religion? Or is it one covered under doctor? We have to understand this, and we have to what we call analyze it, how we are handling it. Is the religion ahead of humanity? Or do we bring some sanity into religion? We have this in Iran. In Islamic countries, you can marry 4 wives. That's your right. In Iran, as Islamic nation, you're allowed 1 wife. The second one needs a lot of hurdles to sort out if you can marry the second one. Even the first wife has to agree because of whatever condition, she allows the second one. We stayed loyal to the principle of Zoroaster, even we are an Islamic country. So there is a way that can be controlled by law. Iran is one of the very few, most probably only Islamic nations that you're not allowed to have 2 wives or 3 or 4. Impossibilities. Because the law is set by the law of Zoroaster. We are an Iranian nation Islamic. So there is a way. There has to be a way for us to find solution. We have found a solution by law within the laws of Iranian nation. We are Islamic, you can have 4 wives, but within the framework of work. And then how old the child can be, or the person can be. But we see on the other hand, in countries like England, children of 9, 10-year-olds get pregnant. There is more operation goes on with the pregnancy of 9 and 10-year-old in England with the girls than anywhere in the world. And it's supposed to be one of the most advanced nations in the world. There are specialist surgeons given a special certification in England to operate for abortion on the children of 9, 10-year-old in Wythenshawe Hospital in Manchester. And this has been going on for years because one of these surgeons used to be an Iranian scientist, Iranian surgeon, who was a close friend. He said, Mehran, I operate on a 9-year-old for abortion. I'm ashamed to be a human being. It's not just anywhere else. In the West exists. In the banner of Catholicism, we call it the nun go for a vow of silence. Why don't the priests go on a vow of silence? Because the nuns were raped by the priests and they were pregnant. So a nun who's supposed to be a woman of God could not be pregnant in the church. This abuse has been going on for too long. When Mrs. Thatcher went to the parliament in England and they made rules because they had so many churches, nobody was going to Church of England, start selling the churches. Some of our friends bought churches, and then in the first cycle, when they start building the churches, they found so many bodies that the Church of England passed a law, we sell the property. If you want to do anything, our workers have to come and work, that they could take out the babies who were born by the priests. We have always abused this cycle, and mankind had reached a position of changing, and it's time to change. One of the first things a nation claims to be advanced, why the Americans have an ambassador in a country which is the biggest child trafficking nation in the world. Are the American ambassadors in the same game? They know it, they close their eyes, or do they receive children, or any other ambassadors, or any other nations? This goes for every nation. We close embassies, we put countries on the boycotts and sanctions. Why not the pedophiles, which United Nations tells us they are, is not made up? But we wait and see. Let's handle the peace with the guns, and then we handle peace with the children. That's the only way we can do. But as I said before, German government especially has to answer this, because a lot of German men have this problem. We are aware of it. And they travel a lot into Belgium. And the position is with the members of the European Parliament. Why didn't they get boycotted? We already have a Strasbourg. Let all the you go to a Strasbourg, Belgium is sorted. As a friend of ours said, is there a basement to the European, what do you call it, Parliament that nobody knows? Basement of thoughts and ignorance.
That is this deep state, Mr. Keshe. That what makes me so desperate. This deep state is organized in the center of.
We allow the states to exist.
But Mr. Keshe, these are sick people. It is the heads of our own countries. It is in the US. It is in royal families.
They are everywhere, even in the presidential. Have you seen the picture of what do you call? We just had his name a few minutes ago. Somebody mentioned it, Mr. Soft. He has a picture with the guy who got hung in the prison and disappeared.
Yes,
we don't want to mention name.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yes. Why should a man? And there is a rumors in the background. One of the reasons for the recent divorce is what is to open up the connection between him and the child abuse, because now there are many pictures of him being with this gentleman.
That is.
Just go on the internet. It's not accusation. Just type on the internet.
No, Mr. Keshe, I'm following this for a long time, and the thing I see is that I think I've told you I was in this sphere of upper financial things. And I have gone out because if you are not participating, you risk that you're liquidated. So I went out of it. But the question here is that these people have made laws for us, but not for them. And
you see, let me tell you something. The way I look at it in short-term and long-term or solution is through the understanding the way we put people in the enhancement unit, we bring balance to their soul. There is no time to kill anymore. There is no time to imprison anymore. It's time to bring a fundamental change. We imprisoned long enough. We killed long enough. We changed the name of cities to fit the punishment, to scare people. And it didn't work. The city of Antwerp in Belgium, why is it called Antwerp? It's twisted. It's called Antwerpen, where they cut the hand because the Spanish were still Muslims, and they had the port of Antwerp. And if anybody did anything wrong there in that area, was treated by the law of Islamic law, you're a thief, they cut the hand. Antwerpen became Antwerp by change because the Christianity changed from Spain into the process. We changed name, we put name of cities with to befit the punishment. But why should a man steal? the new understanding has to bring a new change. The time of punishment is over. The time is to bring the change that there is no need for punishment. Because we made it to be norm. We made it, we allowed it. Years ago, I was standing, the mobile phones were not still in the market. If you remember, it used to be a suitcase carrying. I was in a telephone box in Manchester, and my car was parked outside because I had to make a telephone call. And while I was in the car, the little boy, 10, 11 years, was trying to break into my car. I opened the box and I said, "What are you doing? He said, what's got to do with it?" I said, "It's my car." He said, "You should be in it, otherwise it's mine." We made criminality normal for our children. And it's the same. We understand, we have to change it. And the process is, we put criminals in prisons, but there is a process, we have access to knowledge where we can change the soul of the man and elevate it that the physicality changes.
You know, that is what I really do hope, is that soon this moment comes where there is some force which is going to change all these people, because it is getting unbearable.
It is because our people have allowed it to happen.
And Mr. Keshe kind of lends into a couple of other questions that have come up here. Rocco in YouTube has asked, "Dear Mr. Keshe, how can I test with plasmas or organzas my intention and understand the reactions?" Many, many thanks.
When it happens, don't say it was accidental. How come it happened? Just accident. Believe and understand you have caused it. That's the best thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people, we have no meters to measure. We hope, we wish, and it happens, and it's all accidental. How come it didn't happen till then and now it's accidental? It's your own disbelief in your own belief which causes you a problem. Let's strengthen it the right way, it'll come the right way. When you have a child born through the soul, it's the mother and the father who have to give the totality of the soul to it, not half measure. You will get a physical child. If you, as parents, put the soul into it and create it through what are called unisons of the souls, the way you came units of soul inside the mother, you get the soul of the child. You don't need to go through birth tunnel. And then you will see the difference. As long as you got a split, I'm not sure if it's there, you go through sure because you're not there. As long as you're half committed to a relationship, don't expect to give a child from the dimension of the soul. It will not happen. Because you got to understand the soul is inside you. He knows you. You cannot lie to it. This is the difference between the children of the soul and the children of the man. And children of the man, 9 months comes out, that's it. You got it. Children of the soul are created out of the soul of both parents. And it has to be 100% sincerity and love for it to be created by both. Because she doesn't work, she's not in there hidden just only to the mother. She has access to the soul of the father and the mother. This mankind has to learn the new way. Otherwise, you still give birth to the physical child. These are the parts of progressive development of the man, changing from animal behavior to universal behavior. Sorry, we don't have any MOPS and we don't have any delivery rooms in the universe. If you want to give birth to your child in the physical dimension to stay on earth, because you have everything in the delivery rooms. If you understand and you want to progress to the dimension of the creation in the understanding and work of the universe, you create the soul, and the soul will deliver itself according to the law of the both. It needs a lot of understanding, otherwise you still behave like humans and you still give like birth like animals. A lion does the same as does a rat. Man has access to his soul to elevate to that point, then he has to be equal for both. This time, 3 have a say in the birth, not 1 just because he holds a child. Any other question?
Well, speaking of human emotions and so on, Hassan in the YouTube is asking, will we feel bored in space, or will the human being feel the need to come back to Earth?
What we have seen in the humans who've been part of the space, they come back, but they soon leave. It's not that no humans has ever been to space. 2 or 3 things reverse back to them. First of the condition of inhumane condition of mankind. And the other thing is what we see as what I call the working which you don't need to, like killing to eat, destroying to exist. And most of those who go to space and have been out of the human race, they've been once back, but they never come back because they have seen a different dimension of life. And mankind will become that way. We have, and we are evolving.
Perhaps if we had some sort of job in space, or if they have job
we don't
categories.
need a job. We don't need.
Well, I mean, some service that we're doing. Let's put it that way. Something to be of service.
There's a lot of things to do in the space. There are no factories,
well,
but
that's
a lot
what I
of
figured.
pleasure.
You'll be busy doing something or another. There won't be much time to be bored, perhaps. But I don't know. Maybe on the highest level where you are one with everything, maybe it could get boring. There's not enough friction for. It's like the old ancient saying of, "You're not married. What do you do for aggravation?" Everyone needs a little friction in their life to keep the blood going and so on.
Yeah, but you know what they say? How come if a marriage is so bad, the married man and the single man both die about the same time? We don't have unmarried men or women living 200 years and the married one 100 years. So it doesn't matter if you're married or not, it's all the same.
Mm-hmm.
What you missed in the process counts.
Mm. Dan is asking, how do you perceive the Maghreb of the place in Romania? He's asking as in terms of the reference point is your soul or the inertia and the Maghreb of the place. Well, I have to translate the English, which is translated from the Romanian, I guess, but he's wondering how you perceive the Maghreb of the place in Romania where the conference is, I presume.
We, as usual, we attend these conferences because it's part of the strengthening and sharing knowledge, and it creates some good things, creates some bad things for some people, depends which side of the fence you sit. But collectively, every time we had a conference somewhere, we have brought the forces together to go to the next step if the community sticks to what they agreed and what they wanted. We saw it with the Brazilian conference, how it changed the Brazilian community. And
right.
we've been, pardon?
Right. He mentions it leads to different interactions with your soul, basically, in that situation.
We go with an open soul. We go there to change, to bring changes for the benefit of the nation. There are people coming from other nations in the conference. And if you are Romanian, just turn up. I think there is a few, they increased the capacity, the hotel allowed to increase the capacity in the last minute, last day. So there's by law, they can add another 50 to the numbers. So if you are Romanian, just come in on Saturday or Sunday, because this increase in number is available. Up to now was a restriction of 100 by the government. And now they have increased it to 150 in past few days. So knowledge, they were full, and now there is a space. If you come in and feel it and take it with you to wherever you are. The same is with the conferences which we set up in the exhibition center in Linz. We try to make permanent positions like in Arizona, in the Keshe Foundation in China Center, people going through the same thing, the same. Now, Mexico is ready for that. Tehran is getting ready for conferences. And it's part of how, ask yourself, what you take in yourself. Are you going to a conference to learn, or are you going to a conference to give, to elevate? If you're going to learn, you're still a human. If you're going to a conference that your soul, by its knowledge, gives to the others, then you progress a step up. Maybe in that process of giving, you learn something. Turn up and see. One thing for sure, and I hope I'm correct, anyone who attends these conferences, especially in Romania or Linz or other places, be taking up chances with us to help you and to support you if anything happens. Any other question? Are we there? Hello?
Oh, sorry, Mr. Keshe. I was talking with my microphone off there for a bit. We had a question from Bonneville, Virginia, from in the Q&A here in Zoom. Mr. Keshe, what do you think about the child of the sun? Child of the sun. She says the plasma is my son. I'm a child of the sun. I'm the girl of the sun. I'm in love. My name is Virginie. She's French. It's difficult to speak English, but she tries. She says, I was dancing with Mr. Keshe and I love that. Do you remember with me, my soul with you? And she says, I've been
dancing with a lot of people recently. Yeah.
Yes. Maybe in one night, you know.
Yeah, you never know. It's beautiful to understand these things, but we are all children of sun, which is our soul. So we are created from the sun of our soul. So in terminology, yes, we are children of our sun, which is our soul shines, and the reflection of is us. Then this is how we come to the time and the space of where we are and who we are.
Now, Mr. Keshe, you mentioned both today and the last teaching, this relationship between the sun and the earth. And you mentioned how, you know, we're on this spaceship zipping through space now, and we take it all for granted, and we just kind of go about our lives as if everything's normal. But it's, when you think about it in terms of the way you described it, it's you know, a miracle basically. And the sun gives so much to the earth gives back to the sun somewhat, you were saying, at the same time. And the thing is, the human beings are receiving all these gifts from the sun. Should we not be paying back in a more concrete way? Is there anything we can do as humans, either on an individual or group level, to
You can't become sun
back?
worshippers and everything else will pay back.
Or is there any appropriate emotional response to send back to the sun? The sun being like the creator.
Yeah, you have seen in the universe where people who reach the point of absolute detachment and devotion, they become, within the dimension of their existence, the sun themselves, that they radiate back. Every single soul has the capability to become a star. This is what's going to happen to it when it lives through your physical body anyway. It depends how much you get rid of the weaker strength outside for the stronger, which is the sun, to appear. So we don't become sun worshippers, but we understand the sun is within us. And if we can strip all of it off, our soul can be bigger than the sun, because that's how the sun started.
And that's then we can start started. And then we can actually feed. Then we could actually feed the sun if we became larger than, you know, more of a field strength.
We become, doesn't need to be larger. You have to become deeper strength. Don't forget, even the sun has a condition of matter state. It has reached that matter. That's why it's there. If you can become our soul, which is the sun, in the strength becomes a state of us, which is matter state much faster because of the structure of the brain. I explained this in a very simple way once to children in a classroom. Maybe it's very similar to it. You know, you have a teapot and you put hot water in it, and you leave it on the table. After a while, very short time, it cools down because it gives all its energy out. If you put a heater in it to continuously keep it boiling, it gives all the heat the room becomes on, because the heating heats the water, water heats the body, and then you become a central heating, more or less. But what happened when you put that teapot and you put some blanket on it, cover it? It takes longer, it releases the energy slower, and then you have longer tea. It's the same with us. We have a physical blanketing of our brain in our sun, the center. And so we cool down in so many ways, faster rays in a smaller distance, and we contain it and we call it like a blanket, where the sun is actually has no blanket, it radiates all the way through its own structure. And this is what the difference is. The brain of the man and the sun has a gap of a few billion kilometers, where the soul of the sun is in the center and the soul of man. We still shine. When you go on the sun and look at the man, and you can see the soul of the man, that soul still shines, the same as the sun. There's no difference. If you put hydrogen on top of the sun to create more, or you put a blanket, which is the body of the man or the brain of the man, still inside it, there is a sun, and it shines. And as I said in one of the intros, 7 million stars 7 billion stars on this planet and more. If you can see beyond the dimension of physicality, this planet is a shining, sparkling stars of billions, trillions. You just don't see the soul of the man. You see the ant, which man is not aware of, it has a soul, it still shines. You see the spider in the ceiling, it still shines, and you see the bird flying over. This planet is a shining star through the soul of man. It's just that we attach ourselves too much to the physicality, and we made ourselves blind to the reality. Any other question?
That was good, thank you. I was told today that by a farmer that on average there's a spider every meter away from you at all times. So that's a lot of shining souls all over the world.
So they say we eat on average so many spiders a year, all of us, while we're asleep or while in the food. I think it's about 20 spiders. Somebody Google it, that tells you. I think it's about, we on average eat 20 spiders a year.
Yeah. Not to scare all the ladies out there and half the men, but
just Google it. I remember something in the back of my head. There's a number we eat on average, all of us. The problem is I didn't know there's so many spiders in the world. That's a problem.
Well, there's, I guess, lots of souls get eaten on this planet one way or another, and these transform through the food process.
Yep. Any other question? Or shall we call it a day?
Well, how about one more question from Dan in the Q&A. He's got a burning question. It has some ramifications, perhaps, but he says, sometimes I dream in English, other times in Italian, and sometimes in Spanish. Now, Dan is Romanian. I know that I carry the emotions of that language, but why do I dream in different languages and not that of my Romanian mother tongue? Through these emotions, interactions enrich the fields of my soul, or are they just a transfer of energy?
It's combination of the interaction of the desire as emotion. It's if you lived in a community or in a structure of different language than your birth, after you change, when you live in a community, your language of the brain changes. And so some people they speak Spanish without knowing, and they've never been to Spain, but they understand it because it's the emotion of the language. It's how you perceive it and how you want to receive it. We have knowledge seekers in China who speak funny noises, which is meaningless, and another person who actually translate these noises, and then the person who made noises, this is exactly what he meant when they made the noises. And it's amazing because I've been present in it, in one of them, and it's very, very strange phenomena. But it's all garbage, a lot of noises, and the other person can translate the noise, what it means. Noise is a human level. The essence comes from the soul. And it's very funny when you listen to them. Any other question, or we're about 12:30, 12:20.
Yeah, I think we should wrap things up perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rick. Hopefully, thank you very much for everything. Hopefully we meet you in Bucharest this weekend. We attend the conference, and hopefully we learn. I'm sure we learn from each other, and we elevate each other's soul, and we'll see a better outcome in Romania and the Romanian community, and we'll see how it goes, and we build it up. As I said, just 1 second, because I have to answer this phone. In what we put out today is the notion of a nation who brings peace through knowledge and technology. Is not accelerating a nation, but a nation which has set course for peace that the others to follow, by example. And this is the outcome of understanding the totality of the knowledge. And in that process, to be aware of the changes to come. Maybe there is a reason for this, and maybe there is an example for this, that we don't become arrogant with what we know, but become humble to share. And this is what we set out to do, with the knowledge to bring the change. And we are a good example of it because we've done it for 8-9 years. We've done it for 15 years, 16 years now, sharing unconditionally. And now the ethos of the Keshe Foundation becomes ethos of a nation. And in a way, us as human beings, as one nation, once it becomes the ethos of our nation as one race, one planet, one nation, then we can take these to space and see what other races will learn through us and from us. And this is the beauty of the position, the condition, and time. And we are fortunate that the soul of so many human beings have reached that point of maturity and is ready for the change, ready for innovation. And we all benefit by it. And we'll see what will come out of it. We'll see how we'll change. And we'll see the notion of the knowledge and technology can bring permanent peace to human race. Thank you very much for today. And I thank many of those, and especially those who are sitting online today from the White House. As we informed you before, you heard our point. This is a hand of peace from the human race, not from a nation. And the same as before, we open our patterns and you requested to share. Now we share more, and this time you don't need to request, but it's there on the table of peace for all of us to enjoy and share. We asked the American administration over the past 24 hours to listen to today's teaching, and this goes directly back to the Oval Office. Your Excellency President Biden, you're invited to tell. But on the banner of equal, not by the power of gun policy, but by the knowledge and technology.
Nadszedł czas zmiany, przejścia do prawdziwego działania wszechświata. I nadszedł czas, aby zrozumieć, że używamy stanu materii, by osiągnąć poziom zrozumienia duszy człowieka. Teraz rozumiesz, być może, dlaczego Kreator wysłał swoich posłańców w imię tego, co miałeś. To oni przynoszą uszy, aby można było ich użyć, gdy nadejdzie czas Mesjasza. Mogę nauczyć duszę i przesłanie, nie by się przeciwstawiać, ale poprzez ich zrozumienie przez tych, którzy stali się Mesjaszami, aby dawać ze swoich dusz, aby ich elewować. Zadanie stało się łatwe. Szkoła jest tutaj i uczniowie są tutaj w oddaniu. Wtedy nie będzie żadnej walki między tym, co nazywają muzułmanami, a chrześcijanami. Baranek i lew będą jeść i spać w tym samym gnieździe. Chrześcijanie i muzułmanie będą spać i modlić się w meczecie, w tym samym kościele, w imię ich dusz, nie w imię religii, które są używane do tworzenia tak wielu konfliktów, dla korzyści tych, którzy byli hiperaktywnymi dziećmi. Nadszedł czas, czas zmian jest tutaj. I jak powiedziałem, moje życzenie jest moim rozkazem. Jeśli pragniesz ujrzeć pokój, droga pokoju jest wyłożona bardzo wyraźnie. To dusza świadomości zbiorowej. Poprzez dawanie stworzy tą pozycję zmiany. Nic innego. W duszy człowieka nie ma długopisu. Jestem pewien, że po wejściu do społeczności uniwersalnej nigdy nie zobaczysz niczego zapisanego, ale równowagę pól duszy egzystencji. Staraj się być na tyle pokornym, aby nie stać się aroganckim w mocy, którą zrozumiałeś i posiadłeś. Inaczej wpadniesz w tą samą ścieżkę kościoła i meczetu. To jest to, co obiecaliśmy i to właśnie dostarczyliśmy. Musimy zrozumieć działanie duszy i musimy zrozumieć, że dusza człowieka jest gwiazdą w kosmosie wszechświata. Jeśli porównamy duszę człowieka i tak wielu nas, 7 miliardów w jednym zbiorze, Ziemia jest jak galaktyka z tak wieloma gwiazdami. Kiedy patrzymy w głąb wszechświata, widzimy galaktyki z setkami milionów gwiazd. Podobnie jest z planetą Ziemią. Niesie 7 miliardów pięknych gwiazd, które są duszą człowieka. Niesie z sobą duszę tak wielu trylionów zwierząt, roślin i wszystkiego innego. Jeśli więc patrzą ci, którzy nie widzą fizyczności Ziemi i jej zawartości, co widzą? Widzą galaktykę z wielką ilością pięknych, świecących świateł. Każda według swojej siły. Każda zgodnie ze swoją pozycją. Niemowlę ma piękną duszę, podobnie jak staruszek. Dla tych niefizycznych, którzy nie widzą fizycznego wymiaru tej planety, ale widzą siłę pola, jesteśmy gromadami gwiazd. Ludzka rasa, każda pojedyncza dusza, nikt z daleka nie widzi. To jest dusza rybaka, to jest dusza kosmologa, to jest dusza prezydenta. Wszystkie świecą bez względu na fizyczność. To jest magia. Oto co nowa nauka musi przynieść człowiekowi. Kiedy patrzymy przez naszą duszę, widzimy tylko gwiazdy w innych duszach. I to jest przełom. To jest zrozumienie. Na tym właśnie polegają te wszystkie nauki. Dojście do dojrzałości następnego poziomu, aby zrozumieć daleki kosmos. Wszechświat jest ostrygą dla tych dusz, które służą. Wtedy człowiek jest gotowy do wejścia w kosmos. Wtedy człowiek jest gotowy, aby stać się częścią uniwersalnej społeczności, która została obiecana. Nigdy nie obiecywałem wam nieba. Zawsze obiecywałem wam elewację człowieka, aby przyłączył się do rodziny. A teraz macie klucz. To wy musicie otworzyć drzwi, aby zrozumieć, że mogę elewować duszę tych ludzi lub milionów innych dusz, że fizyczne życie na tej planecie zmieni się. Wtedy jestem godny bycia częścią społeczności uniwersalnej, by być, aby służyć, aby się rozwijać, by być tam, aby być częścią, że w cyklu życia wszechświata staje się w byciu częścią, staje się częścią totalności. Kiedy człowiek osiągnie ten punkt, pojawi się nowy wymiar w sile duszy człowieka, który jest poza wyobrażeniem zrozumienia życia fizycznego. To jest brama do otwarcia nowego życia w nowym wymiarze, co jest poza wyobrażeniem tego, co mogliście nazwać nowym początkiem, nowym cyklem, gdzie ten cykl niesie ze sobą źródło stworzenia życia we wszechświecie i unikosie. To jest elewacja duszy, aby służyć. Stała się kluczem. Nie tron życia fizycznego. Czas jest odpowiedni. Nadszedł czas, aby człowiek przeszedł przez ten proces.